you go around the car world and ask people, our partnership with JP Morgan, our partnership with Qualcomm, anytime you go to anybody and say, we really need to have transaction in our cars, who should we talk to? Talk to Mavi. Everywhere I go, the answer is talk to Mavi.
Today's guest is Cynthia Hollen. She's the CEO and founder of Mavi.io. Cynthia, it's wonderful to have you today. Please introduce yourself and the company and tell us what Mavi does.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here. Mavi is an on-my-way commerce e-commerce solution designed for drivers and shoppers who are on the go. We built the company to leverage the new connected car technologies and allow you to get stuff done in that 72 minutes a day that you wish you'd ordered things and are ready for pickup. So imagine, hey, Audi, I'm hungry. Okay, Cynthia, your groceries and your favorite cheeseburger will be ready for you in 20 minutes. I'll tell them to have it ready for you when you pull in.
Amazing. How did you discover this opportunity or identify this gap in the market?
I've been working in e-commerce and inventing new e-commerce channels my whole career. In fact, I invented the term omnitailing way back at the beginning of e-commerce when we understood that consumers wanted to be able to buy from their favorite retail brands anyhow, anywhere, anytime. I want to be able to walk into the store. I want to be able to call from a catalog at the time. I want to be able to go onto a website, and I want you to recognize that it's me in all of those things instead of treating me as three different customers. So omnitailing is about, frankly, taking your money any way you want to give it to me and making it fit that modality of your thinking. So having taken companies like Bloomingdale's and Amazon and Microsoft and everything in between, from catalog to web to social to marketplace to phone-based commerce in an omnitailing format, I knew that what you have to do is understand what you can't get done in the moment when you most want to make a purchase. Car companies called me about 4 years ago and said, hey, Cynthia, we have this great big giant interactive connected screen in a car. Can you tell us what consumers want to do with it? And On My Way Commerce was born.
Wow. And I remember talking offline with you and preparing for this podcast. You went through quite the research period. Can you kind of describe what that was like?
Absolutely. Anytime you're inventing a new technology, it's not about the technology, it's about the problem, right? One of my favorite entrepreneurial books is Fall in Love with the Problem, from the man who invented Waze. And I refer to this all the time because what he says is, be obsessed with what you're trying to achieve. And at the time, it was 2022, and we'd all learned that we didn't want to touch anything for payment. We didn't want to go like a barbarian and stand in line in a store and wait to place an order and wait for it to be ready. We're starting to have, either through CarPlay or other things, more transaction available in our car. And we didn't want to be doing all of this delivery that we were doing because it was expensive and late and wrong. So I spent 6 months speaking to consumers in parking lots and truck stops and asking them, when you came to the store today, why didn't you order before you got here? Or did you order a delivery? What are you doing here at the store? And almost universally, what we heard was, I wanted to order before I got here, but I had already left my office before it occurred to me and I couldn't. And I would ask what all of us are asking, I have this phone in my pocket. What's wrong with that? Why couldn't I place my pre-order there? And if you've ever tried it, it actually is quite difficult. The phone not only is too small to really use easily when you're driving, but more importantly, it's oriented towards a stationary shopping experience, right? I'm sitting down and thinking, even if I'm on my mobile phone for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Hey, Cynthia, what do you want to eat? What store do you want to go to? What do you want? Here's the calories. When are you going to pick it up? How are you going to pay for it? What are your loyalty points? That's 5 or 6 stoplights. And the restaurant's behind me by the time I'm done, and I give up and I go to the store or I have it delivered. What everyone told us, what moms told us, what professional drivers told us, what commuters told us is, just don't make me think. I just want to say, hey, Audi, have my breakfast ready for me 5 minutes after I turn on my car in the morning. Hey, Jeep, have my groceries waiting for me in between dropping Bobby off and picking Sally up. Hey, Chrysler, I'm hungry. Get me my favorite burger in the next 10 minutes. And that's what we built. On My Way orders is highly personalized, highly recommendation AI based, recommendation engine based. Answer to that don't make me think challenge that in the 72 minutes a day that we're all out and about trying to get stuff done, we just want what we want when we want it, fast and easy with no decisions.
That's amazing. So the mom on her way home can order ahead to pick up food for the kids. She's got one less thing to worry about. She can save probably anywhere from like 20 minutes to maybe upwards of an hour, depending on the route she's driving, where she's going to get the food. So you're creating this level of convenience that doesn't already exist, building it into and integrating into existing technology that virtually everyone, if they don't have it in their car already, is going to have as they continue to purchase newer vehicles. So you're really changing the marketplace in a big sense. Is that how you're looking at it?
We believe that this is the next channel of commerce. So in 2012, when a lot of guru technologists said no one's ever going to shop on a phone, it's way too small. It's now a $2.2 trillion market. We believe that this new biggest connected screen in your household is the new cars have 12 screens in them. So some for the kids, some for the passenger, 5 for the driver. We believe that what is quickly becoming the third living room with 12 or more connected screens is about to become one of your biggest interactive modes and one of your biggest shopping modes. It knows where you are. It has your credit cards. It knows where everything else is. It's context sensitive. You don't need to be taking out your phone. Just let your car do it for you. But the key is don't make me think. Be aware that when I'm in this mode, I need to concentrate on driving. I need to concentrate on everything else I need to do. So don't tell me about the cute cafe with the bougainvillea trees 5 blocks away. This is not the time. Get me a decent cup of coffee that can be ready when it says it's going to be ready. I didn't know Circle K sold coffee and I drive right past it every single day. Yeah, do that. Done. Right? Don't make me think. Don't make me get the kids out of the seatbelt in the back. Don't add time to my day. That's what customers tell us. And we believe that it is a $1 trillion market by 2030 if you include payments for parking, payments for fuel, payments for shopping, payments for tolls, etc.
Oh, that's massive. Okay, yes. So you mentioned some very big automotive brands there. And I noticed on Mavi's website, you seem to have over a dozen or so partnerships with very large automotive players, both manufacturers and other technology companies in the space. How did these partnerships come about? Because you mentioned that automotive manufacturers reached out to you, but how have the other brands got in touch and how are you building relationships with these automotive players?
I've been building either service companies or technology companies or advising people who build technology companies my whole career. And I am a passionate believer in partnerships and go-to-market strategies. Direct consumer and the old-fashioned funnel pipeline are great too. It's not where my philosophy and passion lie. So what I always do when I start a new industry, and like I said, I come out of 20 plus years in e-commerce, so I know the technology infrastructure well. I know the Israeli and the California tech companies well. I know the payment ecosystem well and the shopping system well. I know everybody in New York who has anything to do with strategy in commerce across every channel. But I didn't really know restaurants, and I didn't certainly know the end point of this particular ecosystem, which is the car or on the drive customer. So what I always do, very first thing, is find out who the associations are and what the publications are. You're going to see from the headlines of those and the speakers on those what the key pain points in the industry are. So the very first thing I ever do is go to those association trade shows and just walk the floor, call everybody I know who knows one of those speakers and get introduced so that I have meetings before I go. And that I find is an incredibly powerful way to get quickly connected inside any new industry or any new ecosystem. And that's what I did. It was 2022. which means that Consumer Electronics Show had about 5 people attending that year. I called everybody I knew in the car world and said, here are people who are speaking at this thing. Here are industry experts, the gurus and the industry leaders. They're going to be there. Anybody who knows them, tell them I want to have a cup of coffee. So miraculously in 2022 at Consumer Electronics Show, everybody was available for a cup of coffee. I went to the Connected Vehicle Software Alliance show board that had maybe 100 people in the space there, but they were all from Detroit, and they were all the decision makers in connected car. And miraculously, in October of 2021, anybody who was there was happy to sit down and talk to you a lot. And I try to bring value to these people whenever I enter a new industry. I ask a lot of questions. I try to learn as much as I can and understand their pain points. But I also bring, in this case, an understanding of the retail world and an understanding of the payment space and an understanding of privacy that they are craving and don't really know how outside of their Detroit ecosystem to get. At the same time, I started meeting with people in the restaurant world. I am lucky enough to have gone to a business school with a very deep alumni network. So I immediately reached out to my alumni network, including professors at the school, and said, who do we know who are C-level people in the restaurant industry who can talk to me about what their pain points are? And what I learned was restaurants were desperate to bring customers back to their curbside. They were losing 30% of their customers to delivery, and they were losing their data, and they were losing obviously massive margin. But what they told me through my reaching out through my alumni network was the NPS scores have fallen through the floor. You wouldn't have necessarily sort of concluded that that was the big problem. NPS scores, meaning when I ask customers how much do they love their Five Guys order, they say soggy French fries. We used to get great reviews. We were known for our French fries. Mr. Bowl tells me I'm now giving my customers hot fish and cold rice. It's a disaster. So it was clear that finding a way to let customers do pickup was a massive priority for restaurants. Customers, as we already said, no place I can go to do aggregate go-to-market partnership research there. So I'm just, walking around truck stops and talking to every driver I am and open-ended questions. On the automotive side, what they tell me is, my CEO has promised the industry $1 trillion connected car transaction revenue for this industry. We're on the hook for $20 billion of connected car transaction revenue by 2030. And it's my job to figure out where that transaction revenue is going to come from. So our business model really formulated from those early conversations. How are we going to incent the industry? But I also set myself up as this cool person they just met who can help them solve a problem they didn't even know where they were going to start to address. Within 6 months, I had volunteered my team to speak on industry panels inside the industry to bring that expertise into thought leadership workshops, etc. I believe in surround selling. So your sales team is one part of your sales, but your engineering team who are talking to your other engineers, they're probably your best sales you're ever going to have because they're bonding at a level of trust and expertise that you can never accomplish any other way. So you've got at the board level, at the alumni network level, at the sales level, at the engineering level, at the expertise and C level, you're touching your potential partners at every single place. And within, I'd say 6 months, we had developed a reputation of being the leaders in how to bring commerce into the car world and also the leaders on how to bring a mobile transaction into the restaurant world.
Wow. That's massive. It sounds like you have 3 customers. Like the car manufacturers could be a customer, they could be a partner. Same with restaurants. But then, of course, the end consumer who owns the vehicle and is making the purchases, they're also the customer. So when you think about growth and where this could go, how do you think about growing relationships with each of your partners or customer bases, being car manufacturers, restaurants, and then the end consumer?
So you said the magic word that I like to always focus on, which is relationships. Sales, when you start getting into sales, you start treating people like KPIs and numbers. And I like to think about each one of those relationships. So I am a firm believer in 80-20. So Mr. Pareto, right? So sure, there are 600,000 restaurant locations in America, but there are 100 of them that have more than 100 locations each. So let's focus first on what it means to integrate them, to onboard them, to bring them value, what dollar value is worth it to them, and what are my costs to acquire them. Turns out that in the restaurant world, there are integration elements that are common across many of them. So let's focus on the things that reduce our costs, make it super easy and low friction for those 100 people. And now let's think about, for those 100 brands, let's think about the other 50% of the market that are the independents and understand them, right? That's Toast, that's et cetera. So we understand them as kind of an aggregate, they behave similarly, that 50% of the market. But the other 50% of the market doesn't behave similarly. Starbucks or McDonald's is going to have a completely proprietary and independent way of dealing with anybody than somebody with 1,000 locations, for instance. So quickly assess your market into little buckets like that. Super critical. Understand which ones are going to be too cost prohibitive from a sales team, from a technology, getting to know them relationship standpoint. And then focus on the relationships with a few early adopters, evangelists, friends, people who will work with you and advocate for you. Really, that's what I've done industry by industry by industry, and it's build the relationships. Automotive side is even simpler in a way because there are 20 or so car brands and there are 20 or so partnerships amongst them. So our very first partner, who we love, Harman Automotive, Samsung, builds the cockpits for about a third of all of the cars in the world. What an amazing partner to start our company with. Harman literally called me and said, Cynthia, we're trying to figure out how to get transactions working in cars. And we figured out that we're car guys and we need someone who's a retail expert and a marketplace expert to show us what this means. Will you show us what this means? I was invited by the largest manufacturer of my platform into the space. It literally fell in my lap. What a dream. So relationships. I'm going to be in Berlin with my Harman team promoting our combined service that went live in Audi's last month, next week in Berlin.
Wow, that will be huge.
But I also think of my end consumers as relationships too. So I get to know individual ones and I ask them, can I drive around with you? What reward structure would be meaningful to you? What kind of car dealer? How can I teach you at your dealership, at your home? What is the best way? And if I'm focusing on a handful of people as relationships, then I can turn them into champions and who I 80-20 those as well, who are the most likely users. For better or worse, as an engineer, I break my whole world down into 80-20 wherever I go.
That's smart. Yeah. In terms of the actual marketing, like getting the message out to the end consumers, because this is still a novel technology and a novel idea. So as you're thinking about educating end consumers that are maybe on the market or starting to think about purchasing a new car, how are you telling them about Mavi and about the capabilities here so that they can focus on the manufacturers that you work with and the models that already have this technology on board?
One of the primary reasons that we're building on my way orders through our distribution partners, our car partners, instead of just building an app and putting it in the app store and spending $1 billion on Super Bowl ads to teach people to use it, is because the distribution and the education goes through our strategic partners, the restaurants and the car manufacturers. So the primary way we're doing that is through revenue share, skin in the game. So we actually share a percentage of our profit with our car partners so that they have incentive to make sure that you're taught at the dealership. Some of our restaurant partners have brilliantly come up with ideas that say, hey, give anyone who buys a new car a free cup of coffee every month if they buy it from their car, if they turn it on before they leave the showroom. So the car dealers have a way to incent the driver to get their credit card set up in the car and show them how to use all of the connected features in their car, because I'm now getting to reward those new car buyers with coffee from their car. The restaurant gets new customers coming in every month, and I get onboarding and training and incentive. It's a win-win-win that doesn't cost anybody any money. So guerrilla marketing is also something I strongly, strongly, strongly believe in. Where can I find super users to be advocating to their friends and family and social media followings and rewarding them for being high active users? I don't believe in starting startups that have budgets of millions and millions and millions of dollars of customer activation in a space that has not yet been proven. So we have dozens of mini tests that we're about to start rolling out now that we have cars live. How can we spend $5,000 to test that this works in a single market? And when it works, do more of it. But really, again, our goal for the next year is to get the technology out and define small pockets of activation, because we passionately believe that this is an inevitable technology. And whether you're using it on your car dashboard or CarPlay, or frankly, even somehow from your mobile device or by voice, we know for a fact that it isn't easy to get stuff done when you're en route. And the mechanism and the middleware and the recommendation engine and the transaction on my way ordering is a massive, massive, massive black hole in consumer spending ability. So I say 72 minutes a day, but really that's about a third of your free time in a day, right? So a third of your free time in a day that I could be taking your money, you have no way to give it to me.
Yep. Brilliant. Brilliant. And you mentioned something very interesting there, the recommendation engine. So how does that work? When someone is setting up their on my way commerce, what information are they inputting? What are you collecting initially? Because a recommendation engine needs to learn about the person it's serving up the recommendations for. So what's that process look like?
And this is why some of the people who've tried this in cars before have failed, because they do approach it from a very technology standpoint to say, okay, first thing I need you to do is tell me all about yourself so I can give you recommendations. The benefit of coming out of the e-commerce world is I know just by the zip code you're in and how many people are in your car, probably what you want on Friday afternoon to a pretty good degree. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but the very first time that you go to Instacart, I have a pretty good shot that the first three things I show up on the screen are going to get you right. GoPuff is a miraculous example. GoPuff, anything you need in 15 minutes delivered to your house. GoPuff started with a bunch of students at Drexel University who were trying to serve the puffing community at their college at midnight. And one of them had a friend who worked at 7-Eleven. And they said, what are the 100 things that sell at midnight in 7-Eleven? And their friend, the manager at 7-Eleven, told them. They bought those, put up a little website, and they sold those 100 things. And guess what? They made lots and lots and lots of money. No personalization. I mean, that's massive amounts of personalization, right? They knew exactly what the primary student population at Drexel wanted to buy at midnight. So it was ice cream, and it was condoms, and it was cigarettes, and it was Jewel, and it was Doritos, right? It was kind of basic. So what do you want in Miami at 10 o'clock in the morning? Do you want a coffee or a cafecito or a donut? What do you want on Friday afternoon on your way home? Do you want a pizza or do you want Chinese food? So we start there. We start with a pretty good guess. Then you do tell me a little bit about yourself. Maybe I gamify it, right? You're stopped at a light. Let me ask you 2 questions about yourself and get a reward while you're stopped at a light. Maybe I base it off of the thing that you just purchased. I ask you to favorite the thing you just looked at or not as you're going along. What I never, ever, ever do is say, tell me everything about yourself so that you can place your first order. Never, ever, ever. However, those 3 things I just recommended to you are not your thing. Tonight, when you go home, if you want to tell me your 3 favorite things, tomorrow I'll know exactly, and we can just have presets set up for you. Tomorrow, after we get this first thing today. So what most drivers have told us, sure, hey, Audi, I'm hungry. Okay, Cynthia, your favorite cheeseburger can be ready for you 10 minutes down the road, but there's a chicken sandwich that everyone in the neighborhood loves that's right next door, and it can be ready in 2 minutes. Or how about if I have the thing that the absolute closest, which is 3 minutes away and can be ready in 2 minutes? So your favorite that I know is your favorite, or I'm guessing is your favorite. The most popular in the neighborhood, which I know because I know where you are, and the closest thing to you. I can start there, or I can say, tell me your presets. Boom. turn on your car in the morning, 30 in the morning on a weekday. You must want your Dunkin' Donuts coffee and your croissant. Should I tell them you're coming? Yes, yes, tomorrow. Don't even ask. Just do it. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
It's Friday afternoon, Mr. Uber driver. I see you've been driving for 12 hours. Do you want me to have hot pizza close to your house for your family at the end of your shift? I know where you live, so I'm going to know when you're about 20 minutes away from your house. I will have pizza for your family ready at your favorite local pizza place. You know what? Tell me in the morning before you start the shift, and I'll remember to have it there at the end of your shift, and I'll tell them when you're 20 minutes away so they can start your pizza. Do you want me to do that today? Yes, please. I see that it's Thursday afternoon and you just left the office. Do you want me to have your regular Thursday afternoon grocery order ready? And your husband just texted you and asked you to pick up spinach and milk. Should I add that? And I see that you had a really busy day today. Should I add some chocolate ice cream? Yes, please. Thank you. So that's personalization that doesn't require a huge amount of you telling me about yourself, and it's not too intrusive. But guess what? It's what Amazon and Instacart and Uber Eats and everybody do to you all day long anyway. Sorry to tell you. It's called Retail Media Network and it's personalization, and you can call it AI if you want, but we've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I love that it's not as invasive because there's nothing, in my opinion, worse than like you get a new piece of tech and then you have to like feed it a bunch of info, you have to answer a bunch of questions or like take this like 100 question survey so that it can personalize stuff for you. And I'm like, what a pain, like I just want to put in a few inputs and then we'll learn as we go. Because yeah, my opinion or what I like, it changes over time. So what I like today might not be what I like in a month. I don't know. We need to learn together.
And that's what the best retailers have always done. Amazon, I promise you, has never once, ever once asked you anything about yourself or what you like. Never once. And isn't it funny how every time you go on to Amazon, the thing that you probably most want is one of the first three things on the screen? Great retailers know how to do this. And that is the friction point of asking somebody to set something up is a mistake that non-retailers make when they think they're building technology. That's why car companies need to partner with marketers and merchandisers and retailers to get this right.
Definitely. And you touched on one other thing too, and that I was curious about, which is grocery stores or like the 7-Elevens. Do you have active partnerships with? Amazing. Okay.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things to know about convenience stores. And first of all, 7-Eleven has 15,000 plus locations in the United States. Did you know that no American is ever more than 5 minutes away from a 7-Eleven location or partnership, except if you're in Alaska or, 90% of Americans are within 5 minutes of a 7-Eleven entity. And how many times do you drive past one because you forget that they have milk? Did you even know that they sell salads? So 7-Eleven really wants you to know that they have more than gas and Coca-Cola and Slim Jims and Slurpees, and they're expanding their product line to include food items and convenience items all the time. They really, really, really want you to know that 7-Eleven or Circle K that you just drove past is probably your fastest, easiest place to get 80% of what you want. We already talked about GoPuff, modeled on 7-Eleven in the first place, right? Grocery is a huge convenience that customers, especially moms, will tell me, don't make me get those kids out of the back seat of the car. Don't make me undo those seatbelts. If you could please tell my grocery store that I'm going to be there in 20 minutes and have them bring it out. Literally, I've seen moms with tears saying, what car do I need to buy to have that? You will save me a half an hour of my day and that'll change my life, which is sad to hear that's a life-changing savings, but wow, I can give that to you, right? How amazing is that? And my grocery store partners say, yes, please, any way that we can have a customer order directly from us instead of through an Instacart is great because we can use their favorites and their preferred carts and all of their things and help them get the groceries they want. My CPG partners, right, say, 20% of the time you get out of the car anyway and go inside, even if you ordered a pickup. It's my job to make sure that you remember to pick up some Ben & Jerry's while you're in there. So there's a lot of incentive in the ecosystem. Maybe I have my my staples ready for pickup, but I still want to go in and pick up my produce. And I certainly still want to go and pick out my ice cream.
Yep. Yep. It is you think of where this technology could go and knowing that there's already some sort of there's already technologies like CarPlay or other things that are starting to become more, I guess, more standard in cars. And you think about, in tech, there's this term creating a defensible mode. And I think that's true outside of tech as well. But what are you doing to create that defensible mode and have something that's really unique and special that competitors just can't touch?
There are a lot of ways to think about a moat. And I think a lot of people think of them in terms of building technology that's too hard to replicate, the build versus buy situation. I build so much tech. I have so many contracts that are exclusive. I have so many patents you can't copy. And those are true. And you do want to make sure that you've done the hard work and people look at that and say, oh my God, you've aggregated contracts with all of these car companies. You've done all the heavy lifting to build the relationships, to figure out what their pain points are, to do all of that stuff. But it's in those nuances that the real moats exist, because you can look on paper and say contracts that you have, patents that you have, somebody can come along and have another contract. Somebody can come along and re-engineer your patent. But those deep relationships and understanding of pain points take years to put in place. So making sure that you have all of those pieces together, that you have all of the restaurants that your customers are going to want to have, that that you're working with, as you said, we're working with Volkswagen Group, we're working with BMW Group, we're working with Mercedes Group, we're working with Forvia and Harman and Stellantis and Hyundai and Nissan. I'm building relationships through all of those places. So I like to say, all roads lead to Rome. You go around the car world and ask people, our partnership with JP Morgan, our partnership with Qualcomm, anytime you go to anybody and say, we really need to have transaction in our cars, who should we talk to? Talk to Mavi. Everywhere I go, the answer is talk to Mavi. So it is those relationships. But to the point of CarPlay, don't be so rigid on the end implementation. Fall in love with the problem. The problem is, don't make me think. The problem isn't use this screen with this exact app on this exact operating system. The problem is, don't make me think. If Hey Audi, I'm hungry calls up an app on your phone and talks to you completely by voice, if it calls up something in CarPlay, if it sends your autonomous self-driving vehicle to the store while you're sitting at the beach, don't make me think is the problem, not how do I use the screen in the car. So be agnostic or flexible on the pieces that are adaptable and focus on what the consumers want. And the problem nobody has solved in 20 years, and I know this being from Manhattan, right? When I'm walking down the street in Manhattan trying to get from 20th Street to 40th Street for a meeting, and I have exactly 20 minutes to get there, I know how fast I have to walk to get to my meeting. And if I need a cup of coffee in between those 2 points, it better be something that I can swing in, grab it, and go out without losing more than 5 seconds. I don't have 30 seconds to stand against a wall and look for the Starbucks that's on my route and do a pre-order. If I can't say, phone, I'm hungry, have me coffee waiting for me on my way, I'm not getting coffee. So it's a universal problem. Don't make it easy, make it fast, make it reliable. There's a lot of money we want to spend in those erranding moments of the day.
There is. And you're going to get that money from consumers. I know it.
And it's
Amazing.
the on my way. It's the on my way piece of it, right? Don't make me think, have it ready for me on my way. It doesn't have to be the best burger. It just has to be ready and good enough.
That's right. Amazing. Well, Cynthia, this has been so much fun and such a pleasure. If anyone wants to reach out to you, learn more about you, about the company, how can they get in touch?
Come to our website at mavi.io, or even better, DM me on LinkedIn, Cynthia Hollen.
Cynthia, thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that people reach out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.